Then I will invite Philip after to do the same. Madam Flavia, please go ahead and say hello to the audience and just quickly introduce yourself.
Thank you, Ronald. I'm not sure why my camera is not showing. Yeah, but I'm right here, and I think you've allowed me to do my camera. I'm not sure why it's not showing now, but I'm very happy to be here. We'll work on that as we go along, so we don't lose any more time. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm Flavia Tambilwanga. I'm the Human Resources Director for Airtel Uganda. I've been here for quite a long time, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying Airtel. Every day is a new day. We are full of innovations, and it's a very fast-paced environment, and it's growing very fast. So I'd really, really be happy if you could join us and become part of us in terms of shareholding. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Flavia. We will see how we work on your camera. It seems like it's open here. I'm not sure why we can't see you. Yes, Phil, please go ahead and just say hello to the audience and introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you, Ronald, and good morning to everyone on the call. My name is Philip Nwamanya. I look after the value chain banking business at Absa Bank. Happy to be on this call and happy to share with you insights on the Airtel IPO. And we hope that by the end of the call, you will have made a decision on whether to invest. Thank you, and back to you, Ronald.
Thank you so much, Phil, for that quick introduction. And Catherine also has joined us, and I'll also give her an opportunity to simply say hello to us. Catherine, please go ahead and just introduce yourself and say hello to the audience, and then we can get into our conversation.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you so much, Ronald. Good morning, team. It's a very beautiful morning. We are counting down. When it comes to the Airtel offer, we are excited to give more insights on what the offer is about. And we hope that the next
Catherine, you seem to be breaking. I'm not very sure why.
Is this better now? Can you hear me now?
All right. I think we're going to work on Catherine's connection.
We can hear her. I think we can hear her, Ronald. We can hear Catherine.
Oh, super.
Yeah, we can hear.
Super,
Catherine,
super. Perfect. Great. I think we can get going with our conversation, and I'll invite Flavia to start this conversation. Flavia, we just wanted you to introduce us to Airtel as a business, and then just quickly tell us about this opportunity. What exactly is this IPO that is being fronted, and then what does it really mean? So just quickly take us through and just share with us what opportunity we are having right now. But you can,
sure.
Flavia.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Oh, great. At least that is working. Thank you so much. So again, just want to say thank you for allowing to listen to us. And we're going to spend a few minutes just to talk you through Airtel as a business and why it's important for you to hold shares with Airtel. And what I did is I came with Ivan Karugaba. Ivan is our commercial controller, so Ivan will support me. So I'll do the first part, and then Ivan will support me to do the financial part, so that he gives you the real depth and breadth of what our business is about. We know that this audience is an audience of entrepreneurs, and we do respect you a lot. So it was important for us that you are actually, met with the people who will speak also your language. So very quickly, I hope you can see the offer summary there. So who is going to issue shares? It's going to be Airtel Uganda Limited. The selling shareholder is Bati Airtel Uganda. As you will all know, Airtel Uganda is a part of Bati Airtel, which is a multinational. But in terms of shareholding that we are putting out there on the market, it's really strictly the Airtel Uganda shares. And in terms of the offer structure, again, we are restricted to Airtel. I mean, we are restricted to Uganda. So to retail investors via our IPO platform and onto the USE website and receiving banks. So it's strictly within our Uganda, the boundaries of Uganda. So, and offer terms are secondary proceeds only. And in terms of offer price, our offer price is 100 shillings per share. And in terms of the number of offers number of shares on offer, we have 8 billion shares on offer today. So I think it's a broad a number, a big number. And so I believe a number of Ugandans can actually, good number of Ugandans can have an advantage of buying, shares and owning a part of Airtel Uganda. This 8 billion shares is comprising of 20% of the overall shareholding in Airtel Uganda. So the offer size is obviously 800 billion. If you look at the number of shares on offer. And then our listing is with Uganda Securities Exchange, which is the main investment market segment. And we also have Absa Bank as Absa Bank Uganda as the lead transaction advisor and lead receiving bank for the whole transaction on share offer. And we also have a leading sponsoring broker who is Crested Capital. I'm sure you've been introduced to both the representatives from Absa and Crested Capital. After myself and Ivan, they will also come through and be able to talk about what their role is. And then the listing rationale and investment considerations. I hope everyone can see that page. One is to ensure that we fulfill the provisions of the National Telecoms or Operators License. As we all know, our regulator is Uganda Communications Commission, and we have a license, and they've given us a license, and we renewed our license towards the end of last year. And as part of the license, we are required to actually list on the local market, which is a good thing because as Airtel, we are here to ensure we transform lives of the people in Uganda. And what better way of, we've done that over the 13 years that we have been operating as Airtel, trading as Airtel in Uganda. And so what better way than to ensure that, even as we work, we, the populace of Uganda, are also owning part owners of Airtel Uganda. So we really are excited about this opportunity. And then also Airtel has a very strong financial and operational performance. And you're going to see that detail. And Ivan, like I say, will take us through the meaning of the ratios that he's going to be talking through, which will help you to see how strong Airtel is financially and even from an operational efficiency perspective. And then we also have a generous and attractive dividend policy. So what are we saying here? We have a target payout ratio of 95% of the net profit after tax or retained earnings. So we look at profit after tax, that ratio, and then we also look at the retained earnings. Whichever is higher, 95% of that is what we'll give back in form of dividends to our shareholders. Then the innovation and market leadership, I think we are all part of this market. We've seen quite a bit of innovation that's come through from Airtel Uganda. We've had so many firsts in terms of our network. We've ensured we have a network across the entire country, even in the areas that are still growing. We ensure that everybody can access, the services in terms of voice, because it's a right now, for you to be able to pick a phone and call and know where your people are and be able to interact with them wherever they are. We have data which enables, again, further interactions, as well as for the Ugandans love to learn and read. So the data gives you a broad, array of literature that you can pick up on the web and different social medias, so as to learn, keep learning. And then the market leadership, we are very strong in the market. And if you look at our market share, it's quite high. It's a very strong brand and one that I really recommend that we all be a part of in terms of shareholding and crafting the future of Airtel. And then we have a very strong shareholder support and strategic and very good and strong strategic alliances. And strictly and specifically for this IPO, you see that it's not just Airtel coming your way. We have ABSA, a strong financial institution, and many others that are going to be supporting us in this journey, as well as the brokerage firms. And we have Crested Capital right here to engage you so as for you to understand very well how these IPOs work and, even into the future, what it means to own a share. Then increased level of corporate governance. Obviously, we've been working a lot at that. You are always continuously improving in the way you govern your business. And with the listing, we are going to, it catapults, you double and triple the way you actually, you do your corporate governance for sustainability and into the future for profitability as well. And then contribution to the development of Uganda capital markets. We know it's been here for probably, it's almost 20 years now, or about thereabouts. It's still small compared to many other markets, but every new equity that comes onto the capital market is a sign that there's a future and there's potential for the Uganda capital markets to actually grow. And so we want to be a part of that growth. And so Airtel is listing, and we want as many Ugandan shareholders as possible so that we can also, be a part of that story of the history of growth of the Uganda capital markets. Then access to the capital markets for future growth funding as well is critical for us. So with those few opening remarks, I would request Brian that Ivan is given right so he can come through and talk over the numbers. So Ivan, over to you. I hope you can see.
Yes, please, I can see. Yes, I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining the call. I'll just pick it up from Flavia, maybe to introduce myself. I'm Ivan Karugawa, and I work with Airtel in the finance team as a financial commercial controller. So basically, in terms of financial performance, we shall quickly look at the last 5 years. I think it gives a better snapshot. As Flavia introduced, the company though has been in operation for more than 25 years. Airtel opened its doors as Airtel around 1995. So it has over 25 years of performance and knowledge in the market. But for the purposes of this IPO, the last 5 years are the most relevant. And looking at the chart ahead, the main number, the top line, revenues have been growing on average approximately 12.3% on a compounded basis. So that means basically year on year, this year, 2018, they grew 12% on average, the same year like that. So it speaks to the consistency in growth, in the opportunity we are bringing on board. And the biggest driver in the last 5 years has largely been voice. So voice has been the major driver of our revenues at Airtel. Though, as you can see, as the years have progressed, data has picked up, and as fast is catching up. And in our projection, largely, as we stated in the IPO, we see data taking over voice in the future, as we shall explain going forward. Maybe, Flavia, we can move to the next slide. Flavia?
I'm trying to move it, sorry.
Oh, okay, no, sorry. So basically, as we wait for Flavia, in terms of the top line revenue performance, why have we been growing at approximately that rate of 12.5%? It speaks to the fundamentals, really, in terms of subscriber growth, the average revenues per subscriber, largely also leading to what we have invested as a company over the same period of time. So over the same. Yes, hold on. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. So this speaks of the profitability of the company. So Airtel is quite a profitable company. Our margins are above 50%, which is superior to most of the peers in the segment, particularly in the telecom sector. Our profit margins over the 5-year period have also averaged above 12%. So if you look at the revenue line growing approximately 12%, the margins similarly in the same range, and the profits going similarly in the same range. That now speaks to what usually in finance we call flow through, the efficiency in the operation. So basically the entire revenue growth is being translated into profitability for the business. And that's really, as a potential investor, I think that's what you need to look at, that how efficient is this company in one driving growth, and that growth being converted into potential benefits to the shareholders and stakeholders. So our profit after tax has on average grown approximately 5% over the period. So we've moved from approximately 268 billion in 2018 to the close of last year of approximately 325 billion annually. That's approximately $88 million. So as of September 31st, speaking of our assets, we had approximately 1.9 trillion in assets. So that's mainly the towers, the active equipment on the towers, and all the other real estate we hold. The liabilities have steadily declined over time, largely as we pivoted away from reducing debt and looking for alternative ways of investing, of which the capital markets are part of it. So we see this also continuing to go down, which frees up the company's cash flows for more investment and also for taking care of the needs of the shareholders and other stakeholders. Shareholders' equity, as you have seen, has grown steadily 5% in line with the profit after tax. So over the same period, and it stood at around 128 billion before the close of this. But with the offer, this will eventually go up. We proceed, Flavia. Yes. So essentially, and the outlook, I'll just quickly.
I'm thinking we can pass it on to the next presenter now.
I just wanted to speak to the outlook largely, then they can pick it up. So basically, in terms of revenue, this year we are projecting approximately 1.8 trillion in revenues and an EBIT of approximately 1 trillion. Now, these numbers, why we're raising them, speak to the valuation which has been used to come up with the value and the share price which is being offered with an implied market capitalization of 4 trillion. So the 4 trillion is largely being driven by the valuation basis, the projected performance of the company, given the history of the performance the company has been doing. And Flavia reiterated the dividend policy at Airtel has been approximately 95% of paying earnings on net profit after tax, or RE, whichever is higher, and it's envisaged this will be maintained, so they don't foresee any reason why this should be adjusted, as the cash flow position of the company is strong and solid. So I think Ronald can invite the next speaker, I think, if
Great. Thanks a lot, Ivan, for kind of breaking down for us what the numbers look like, and Flavia for introducing us to this opportunity. I think my next I'll possibly give an opportunity to the Prested Capital team now to share with us, and really, Catherine, what one of the questions which I really want you to start by answering is, why should an ordinary entrepreneur be interested in this opportunity? These IPOs, we have heard quite a bit about them, and why is it attractive? The numbers are certainly attractive, but why should an ordinary investor take interest in it? Catherine, please go ahead. And
thank you so much, Ronald. That's a very interesting question. So the first reason I think every Ghanaian should look at this as an opportunity to invest is that for a long time we every single one of us, if you have an Airtel line, you make a call at least once a day, or you receive a call. So for the company that we support to that level, I think we can also benefit in the returns that they make. So on the policy level, the government said that now that these telecoms are making a bit of money here, let the Ugandans also be part of the beneficial owners in this company. I mean, let us get a chance to benefit from their profitability. And now we have a chance. We had a chance in 2021, we have yet another chance. So if you're Ugandan who is still on the line, I think you need to look at this as an opportunity. And because we are talking to entrepreneurs, opportunity presents itself at different times. Today, we are in a primary market that is ending next week, after which we shall have the shares listed on the stock exchange. So even the opportunities post the primary market, which is the secondary market, they are very different. Today, if you want to get up to 100 million shares or even 1 billion shares of Airtel, you can get them through an application. If you cross into the secondary market, you will have to buy those in small bits. That is if supply is available. So today we know what is on offer. We know at how much we can get. You also have an incentive, which I'm speaking to right now. If you look at what is on the screen, Airtel is saying that for retail investors, and retail is not just you and I, it is our children, for those that we are holding their accounts in trust. It is for a joint account you can buy with your spouse. It is for your company. It is for your investment club. It is for your circle. It is for your partnership. All these are categorized under retail investors. So there is an incentive if you choose to participate in this IPO. If you are an Airtel customer, it is even better. You have an extra incentive. So instead of having 5 incentive shares for Airtel customers, they are saying they'll give you 6 incentive shares for every 100 shares that you are able to apply for. And they're also saying that there are different categories. They have tiered the number of incentives. For those who are looking at investing 37 million shares, those who are going to buy 37 million shares, that is about 3.7 billion shillings. You will be even able to get 10 incentive shares for every 100 that you apply for. So should you look at investing more than 3.75 billion shillings, or 3.7 billion shillings, you'll even get 20 incentive shares for every 100 that you apply for. So what do the incentive shares do? For us who are in Uganda, and I will borrow a Uganda word here, twagala nyongeza. If you go to the market and you buy 10 tomatoes at 1,000, and then the lady adds you 2 extra, ideally you have 12 tomatoes at 1,000. So if you look at the unit cost for each tomato, it will have come down. So even here, Airtel is saying that for those who are intentional about investing in the company more, they will even get a better incentive. If I would encourage us to go and look at the prospectus, for those who love the deep read, there is a full prospectus. Those who want the light touch, there is an abridged prospectus. You will look at the incentive structure. You also look at the allocation that you Ugandans, even in terms of allocation, should we have an oversubscription, Ugandans take precedence in terms of getting their fill of their allotment, and then the East Africa as a region comes across, and then later we look at those who are non-East Africans. So we have an opportunity that is exclusive because this is a Ugandan offer, which I think we should take a hold of. Let us look at it as entrepreneurs. I mean, there is an incentive, there is a dividend. What is the dividend that is on the table? Airtel is saying, if you look at the prospectus under the dividend policy, that even for the dividend that is due for the quarter that we have just finished, that will be available to the shareholders who will participate in this offer, and they still hold their shares in November. So November, we shall know how much of what was projected was actually made and is available for distribution. And the previous speakers have spoken to the dividend policy that Airtel has put up front of the amount of profitability they have enjoyed, how much of that will be distributable to the shareholders. So we know that next month we will know how much we are getting for us who would have participated. But again, there is a disclaimer I must put on that if a person chooses to sell their shares at the bell ringing event, which is the 31st of October, then the entitlement will go to the person who will have bought. So even for us who are looking at this as an opportunity, let us look at it in the longer term. Equities, just like any of our businesses, we invest in our businesses for growth. We invest for our businesses for the longer term. So in the short and medium term, you might see that maybe there is a bit of volatility, but in the long term, if you look at your compounded benefits, they will be better than a person who is looking at it for the short term. So if we may go to the next slide, please. Yes. So this is the real reason why we are here. Will you have an opportunity after the 13th of October? Not for the IPO. So at exactly 4 p.m. on the 13th of October, we will not be having any more applications coming through. So we have from now until before 4 p.m. To be able to participate in this IPO. So I'll speak to the options that we have. We have 2 options, but now for those who will have applied for their shares, whether you have applied several times, all your applications are going to be aggregated as one, and then you'll be allotted the sum of everything that you have applied for plus their incentive shares. So let us look at the proof. How do I know that I've got all my shares? We no longer issue share certificates in the securities market because now the market is electronic. So you will instead get an allotment letter. So as your shares are getting credited into your SCD account is a securities central depository account which holds your shares. You will also get your allotment letter. For those who have email addresses, or a text message will come through for those who have applied via mobile money and we do not have their email addresses. So if now we're looking at the incentive structure, this is what I was talking about earlier, that for those who are going to use Airtel, the Airtel platform, now maybe something else I need to also clarify here, that the number ought to be registered in your name. If you get the NIN, your NIN, and you try to enter into if you dial *185 to open up an account, you use your NIN, yet your number is registered in someone else's name, it will return an error. So you won't be able to proceed. But should you go ahead and get that person's NIN and you're able to buy the share, apply for SCD account, the names that will be on the register will be that person. It will not be you. So even at the time when you're making the decision to sell, we shall say, but we don't know you, you are not on the register. So it's important that those who are looking at applying for shares, please make sure that the line is registered in your name and that it is registered with the details of the national ID. So what does that mean for us who have Airtel lines registered in our names, but we do not have national IDs? It means that the platform will not be available for you. However, there is another choice that you can open your SCD account and be able to apply. So if you want to also, if you're not an Airtel customer, you can go and get an Airtel line. Alternatively, you will be losing the other incentive and get the 5 if you're going to use the other options. So if we can go to the next slide, please. This is an illustration for those who are looking at applying for the minimum. For 250,000 shillings, which is basically what you need to fund your minimum application of 2,500 shares, you will get 125 free shares. So if you look at the total number of shares that you would have got after the whole offer is done, it will be 2,625. So there is what we call an effective price. Because there is a discount that is factored in with the free shares that you get, the effective price would be 95.24. So ideally, if, let me say, after listing, the price came down to 98, you can still be in a positive position because you break even at 95.24. So let us look at the other. So this is for the one who is going to maximize the incentive that is available for the retail investors. We used an illustrative figure of 4 billion shillings. For 4 billion, you get 40 million shares. But again, the value of your incentive is 8 million shares. So the total number of shares that a person would get would be 48 million. And if you're able to look at the effective price, here the effective price is much lower. It is at 83.3. So you realize that the person, just like us who go to our shops, in a retail shop and a wholesale shop, a person who is buying a kilogram, let me say, of sugar is buying it at 5,000. But a person maybe who is buying a couple of sacks of sugar, you find that the value of a kilogram comes down maybe to about 4,000. So it is the same thing that for one who is investing big amounts of money, there is a better incentive. And if something that is even more interesting is that if you look at the multiples, we are saying that from the minimum, you can only apply for extra shares in multiples of 500. So ideally for a person who has, we have the incentive structure changing from 10 incentive shares to 20 by a difference of 500 shares. So assuming that I bought 37 million shares, 37,500,000 shares, I would move from just getting 10 incentive shares to the bracket of 20 incentive shares by only 500 shares. So even as investors, if you're looking at maximizing and you have the resources up to that amount, that is an opportunity that you don't need to get to the 4 billion mark for you to get into the 20 incentive share bracket. Even at a change of 500 shares on top of the 37 million, you would be able to transform from one incentive structure to another. So if we may go to the next slide, please. Yes. So I know some of us have heard about other investments that were promising only returns. There is no single investment that exists. Even us now that we're entrepreneurs, we know this. The entrepreneur, you carry a certain risk. If you have employed a team, they also carry a certain risk. So for every investment that has a return, there is a risk component to it. And even as I would like us to look at section 8 in the prospectus, which is about the risk. Before you make your investment decision in Airtel, please go and look at the risks that the business is facing, because you're investing into a company that is constantly going to be exposed to those risks. But most importantly, the company has also outlined how they mitigate those, because those are not risks that are coming because they're coming on the offer. Some because they are market related, they are coming because they're going to become a publicly listed company, but others are still inherent in their business because they have been operating. So there are risks that are inherent to Airtel because they're in the telecom sector. There are businesses that are going to be borne by Airtel because they're in Uganda. So their geographical situation is the reason why they will have that risk. Yeah. So if I may mention some of those, we have competition. We know that Airtel is not a sole distributor of telecom services. So if there is competition comes, it can affect the revenue that they are making. It can eat into their market share. We know that Airtel has been able to eat into competition's market share. If you look at the market share, it's about 47%. That is in terms of the market, and their revenues, they're up to 49%. So if there is another competitor that comes, we also saw one of the telecom providers recently rebranded. So how much of their rebranding will be affecting Airtel's competitiveness? We are yet to see that. But that is something that you, as an investor who is looking at investing in Airtel, you need to be cognizant of. So we also have a decline in the growth of revenue. We know that for most of us who are calling abroad, we are not calling using our voice. No, not necessarily. You go on WhatsApp, you make your phone call, and then the person picks the other end. So that is already a revenue that would have been enjoyed by Airtel, but it's not. But again, Airtel is also saying that there's also an opportunity for us to grow, because you will not be able to use WhatsApp if you don't have data. So there is also, as voice is likely not to grow as fast, there is anticipation that growth will be registered on the data. But even our Ugandan demographics support the business, that we have so many Ugandans who are turning 18 that are turning 90. So what does that mean? That as people transform from children to adults, they have now the ability to have national IDs, to own their own SIM card, and to use the services. And in our homes, for us who are on this call, we even have kids who are younger than 18 who are using our lines, and they're already consuming services of these telecommunication companies. They are very intentional about their wireless internet, but we also know that even we have cable internet running through our homes now. So all those are innovations that Airtel has said. And if you look at their prospectus, for you who is looking at the opportunity to invest, look at their growth prospects. What are they saying that they're going to grow on? And eventually, when we come to the AGM as shareholders, we hold them accountable that this is what you promised us as we were making an investment. How much have you delivered on that promise? Yeah. So we also know that there is SIM box fraud. This is not unique to Airtel. We know that them as an industry, they have registered fraud cases, but they're also intentional about their risk and their systems. They are buffering their capacity. And Airtel is the best placed. I would only speak to what they have disclosed in the prospectus, but they have given us a level of comfort that this is a risk they are aware of, and they are very intentional to make sure that it's contained. So we also have credit risk. Some of us here borrow airtime and then we pay. But majority of the customers of Airtel, they will pay for their services before they use them. You load your airtime and then you're able to make your calls, or you prepay for your minutes and then you utilize them. So the business basically is more cash driven and less than credit. But for that credit, I'd also like us to go and read and see what the company has put in place to make sure that they contain their credit risk. As they are coming to the market, you who is investing today, you can only exit after listing, which is on the 31st, after the 31st of October. So what does that mean? Do we know where the price will be? Not necessarily. So the price on the stock market can increase, it can decrease. And no one can say that I can cap the price at this. No. So as you're investing in Airtel, you need to know that there will be a volatility in the prices depending on the demand and supply. And there is also an underlying reason. Sometimes you find that we have so much supply because now, as a matter of fact, we have seen new investors coming on board. There are new investors that have added to the securities exchange because of their participation in Airtel. So what their expectations at individual levels are is something that will be demonstrated in their actions in the market. Are they people who are going to be in for 3 weeks or for 5 weeks or for 6 weeks of the offer and they want to sell immediately? And because the IPO is electronic, from the comfort of my home, I'm able to apply, whether I've talked to a broker or not. So you realize that even us on our end, we have seen people who have applied for these shares and they have not been in contact with us. Yeah. So these sometimes you find that even the decisions that are done post IPO for the retail investors, it's because they were not very aware of their investment. And first, we would like to thank Enterprise Uganda, who has given us the chance to speak to you that even as you're making this informed decision, are you the one who's going to sell after 12 weeks? No, because this is long term. Allow the growth of the company, grow with the company. They have been here. Their license is for 20 years. So I believe that even for 20 years, they'll be able to create value. So as a shrewd investor should be looking at the share price to monitor, but that should not be the reason to why you are making your either selling or buying decision. So if there is volatility on the market, it will affect you whether you sell your shares or not. Because if the share price, let me say, drops to 80, it means that the value of your shares will also be valued at that point. And then the buyer who is coming in the market will say, if there are very many sellers, perhaps I can buy at, I can instruct my broker to buy at a lower price. And if it's within the range of 15%, the order will be able to be captured in the system. So if Airtel, on the other hand, we do not have so many sellers and you have more buyers post-listing, then the share price will go up. Yeah, we have seen this. If I may use a company that's recently struggled with the share price, it was Umeme. From 2016, their price has been coming down. It has been coming down. We were at 220 last year. Today, as I speak to you, Umeme is at 414. Why? Because they have been consistent in their dividend. So whereas the company posted good profits over the years, there was, if you look at the COVID period, people did not have money. So other than me going to sell a piece of my land, I can liquidate some of my shares. So because we have constantly had supply and also exits from the foreign funds, we have had the share price coming down. But now that the company has paid better dividends, there is even an interim that is being paid on the company. We have seen the share price recover from 200 to double and even more than doubled where we were last year. The highest we have recorded this year was 440. That is when they were paying their first dividend. So share prices coming down and going up, it is not something that does not happen. And even you who is intending to buy, it is something that you need to be cognizant of. If we may go to the next slide, which I think is the last one. This is now the end of the story. How do you participate? We have told you of the opportunity that there is. We have told you of the risks that you're likely to face. We have told you of the company, and you can also read further in the prospectus. But now, how do you get on board? If you're Ugandan and you have a national ID, you'll be able to buy via your phone. You will dial, if you have your phone, you can even try this out right now. You can dial *185 *85#. If you already have a Securities Central Depository account, which is the SCD, you don't need to open a new one. You will use that one that you already have. So for you, you will proceed to apply for the shares. Those who don't have, please enter your NIM details. If you choose, there are very many brokers, and all these are authorized to sell this offer. I'll start with ourselves, Crested Capital, who are the lead sponsoring brokers of this transaction. We are your third option. If you look at the menu, there is UAP, there is SBG, there is Cheaper, and there is Dan Blair. All those are authorized to help you participate in this offer. So if you already have an ACD account, please proceed to the next option. So it will be star, again, 185, star 85 hash. They'll require you to have your NIN. You input your NIN, and then you also need to have pre-funded your mobile money wallet. So for the amount that you intend to use to apply for shares, if it's if you want to get 50,000 shares, then you must have up to 50 million, rather 5 million shillings. So please note that there is a cap. If you're going to use mobile money, you cannot transact more than 20 million. And sometimes you find that even with 20 million, because you have done other transactions like buying airtime, or you've sent someone some money, you may not be able to fill that. So for every transaction, you can do up to 5 million. So in one transaction, you can buy shares worth 5 million, and then you can do multiple applications. Should you want to invest a huge sum of money, there is also another opportunity for you. Now you'll have to use the banks. There are also quite a number of authorized receiving banks. There is ABSA, who are the lead transaction advisors and the lead receiving banks. There is DFCU, there is Equity Bank, there is Stanbic Bank, and Standard Chartered. So whichever your bank is, you are able to actually go through your bank, and then we make an application for you. So on the Easy portal, for you who may not have an ACD account, there is another option. You go on the Uganda Securities Exchange website. There is an ACD drop down. You click Easy Portal, and then you'll be able to avail your email address. They'll send you a link, and then you're able to set up your ACD account. What is required there? You will need to have taken a picture of yourself, or if you have a soft copy passport photo, you can use that, because you will need to upload that. Then you'll upload the back and the front pages of your national ID. So then you'll be able to complete the process. We verify the account on our end as your brokers, and then you're able to apply. If you have children, you can buy for your children as long as you have their birth certificates. Yeah. So if you need more information on that, I'll share our details in the chat section. Then you'll be able to contact us for more help. So we look forward to seeing your participation. Like I said, we are now under 10 days. So if you want to participate, and you can buy as many times, have you bought before, you still have an opportunity to apply for more shares until the 13th. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Catherine, for that submission. I think we know how we can participate, and for sure it has been made simple. I think at this point I'll bring in Phil from ABSA. Phil, just come and share with us certainly the role you play as a bank. And I also wanted you to speak a bit more on how an ordinary entrepreneur should make this investment decision. How much should I put in? What kind of opportunities? I think Catherine talked about long-term versus the short-term. Some people want an in and out. How should an ordinary entrepreneur think about this? Phil, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ronald. So I'll start with the role of ABSA in the IPO. So we have two roles. The first one is as the transaction advisor. So we're the transaction advisor for the IPO. And as part of that role, we helped, Airtel with putting together the prospectus, and also with meeting the other listing requirements. We have experience in this regard, starting with helping Airtel Africa with listing on the London Stock Exchange. We also helped Airtel as transaction advisors when they were listing in Nigeria, and we've also helped with the listing of Vodacom in Tanzania. So one of our roles was as the transaction advisors. The second role, which is critical for the entrepreneurs on this call, is we are the lead receiving bank. And as the lead receiving bank, it's critical that I take you through the 4 collection channels that we do have as ABSA. The first channel is the MIPO, which our friends from Crested Capital have taken us through. That is the one you can access through the star 185 menu. The process is being projected on the screen. The second channel is if you walk into any ABSA branch and ask to make a payment for your shares, We have dedicated tills at every branch that will help you with the payment of those shares. So that is the second channel that you can use to make payment or to make an application. The third one is through our Absa mobile banking app under the utilities menu. So where you usually find pay for water, pay for umeme, you find an option of the Airtel IPO, and through that as well, you can make a payment for those shares. Then lastly, for our corporate clients as well, you can make a payment or an application for those shares by simply transferring funds to one of the brokerage accounts on the corporate banking system. So we have 4 channels. The MIPO, you can also walk into any Absa branch. We have dedicated resources there to help you with the application. Then you can also make the application through the Absa mobile banking app. And then for the corporate customers, you can also make an application through the corporate banking app. And just to come to your second question, Ronald, around why this would be a good investment or what information people need to consider as they make this investment. I think number one is the dividend policy. 95%, if you look at most of the companies on the stock exchange, very few of them pay out 95% of their retained earnings as dividends. So that is one critical thing to look at. But the other one, Ronald, as well, is to look at the journey that Airtel has been on, the market share that the company has made up over the last couple of years, now to getting them to a level of 47, 48% market share. It shows you that if they maintain that same level of growth, then in a year or two, they could become the market leaders. Number 3 as well, Ronald, is just to look at the level of investment that the company has made in the country. If you look at the coverage, both on data and voice, especially in the areas out of the Kampala and the Greater Kampala metropolitan area, you realize that the company has made quite a significant amount of investment into the Ugandan economy. Then maybe lastly, it's just to also take note of the fact that for Airtel Uganda is the second largest business for Airtel in Africa, second to Airtel Nigeria. So it shows you that Airtel Uganda is critical to the Bharti group, and as such, they will keep getting that shareholder support to help them to continue growing in the market. Then lastly, Ronald, around the value and how much everyone should invest, I think that is really dependent on the outlook and the investment strategy from each investor. But as our friends from Crested Capital highlighted, investment in shares is really a long-term investment, and you typically look at 2 ways of earning from that investment. The first one would be the dividends that will be paid, and the second one is really the appreciation of the share price. But just to reiterate that an investment in an IPO or in shares is a long-term investment, and that consideration should be made as the entrepreneurs make an investment decision. Back to you, Ronald.
Thanks a lot, Phil, for those highlights. I guess at this moment we will open it up and receive a couple of questions from you could just simply put up your hand and I'll give you an opportunity to ask the panel any question you may have for them. I saw 1 or 2 in the chat box. I think a number have been responded to. I think there was a question here from we had a question from sorry, just give me a minute, let me look at it here. Yes, I think Millie had a question, and Jude asked what percentage of the company's value is being offered and what components of the company have been excluded from the offer. I think this was touched on earlier, but possibly Jude hadn't come through, but I'll give the opportunity to the panel to answer that specific question. And I think Ivan has responded to it in the chat box. Yes, I'll see if we have another question here. Yeah. Ivan has been, I think, responding to those questions. Millie asked for the role that ABSA is playing in the IPO. I think that question also Philip has answered. If you have a question, please don't hesitate. Just put up your hand and you ask. I think in the meantime, I'll quickly turn to I think Catherine touched on the question of the risks that exist for an investor in the IPO, and I think you articulated them well. I think what I would want is to scratch a bit deeper and understand, when we look at your experience, Catherine, from what has happened with other IPOs, when you talk about these risks, how do they actually play out in the investor's mind? I know that a number of telcos have kind of listed on various stock exchanges, and they have created a kind of mindset. But how should the investor think about these risks so that they anticipate them? I know that you talked about the risks the whole business is looking at, but there are specific risks which speak to me as an investor. How should I anticipate them, and how should I be able to manage them? Then I also wanted possibly either Flavia or Ivan can answer this question. For the people who choose to invest in the IPO, how does it operate? Is it simple for me to come in and exit? Assuming I put in 2 million shillings, what is that journey of exiting? Is it something which is simple to do, or once I have the money in, it's locked in for a certain period of time? For the people who are new to the stock exchange, this may be something, possibly, I don't know who will take that, but one of us can be able to answer that question. And let me see, I think, I don't know whether there is a hand here. Yes, I think the team can take those, and then we'll see if we can have another round of questions.
Okay. Can I take the last one quickly and we close it?
Yes, please. Ivan, please go ahead.
Yeah, so it's an important question from an investor perspective. Equities or shares are basically real assets. The way you'll have a land title, or you'll have a piece of land and you have a title. So when you buy shares in Airtel, you have a certificate to guarantee that. How long you want to hold, because these are going to be floated on the secondary market on a public stock exchange. So as long as you hold that certificate, you're part shareholder of the company. So the company can't hold you into the company against your own will. At the moment you feel like you're tired of holding those shares, you're free to offload those shares on the secondary market on a willing buyer, willing seller basis. So as long as you can find someone willing to offer you the amount you want for those particular shares, then they are transferable to that person. Then that person takes up the shareholding in the company you held. So there is no one going to hold anyone into the company once you've bought shares at any particular moment. Once they are available on the secondary market, you can sell your shares. In the similar way you would sell land or any other asset, you have title to. I think, though, I think clarification, I think which they had also touched on it earlier, is the ex-dividend date. So in the prospectus, we alluded that whoever will be a shareholder will be entitled to the Q3 dividend payout. But now, if you dispose those shares on the first day, on the listing date, when we come to, and the people who hold the share, then they rush to dispose them, then you will not participate in the share, in the dividend payout for the quarter, which has been stated in the prospectus. Just a caveat.
All right. Thank you. Catherine, do you want to come in?
Yeah, just to supplement what Ivan has clearly stated. Equities are liquid. So as long as there is demand at the price that you want, there are people who have experienced longer lags in terms of filling their orders. Why? Because I want, let me say, 100, and the buyers in the market, I'm going to use an example of the price being lower and the buyers at 95. So if I want to sell and I have a problem, my kid is at home, they have not yet gone back to school, I will sell my shares at 95. So if I'm not flexible on my price, the market will not, because the buyers know that there are so many sellers perhaps at that season. But if you're confident that there is a dividend and there is no demand, except buyers always want to buy lower, sellers always want to sell higher. So when there is no connection between the two, then it means that the market will not be there. So it is possible that we have a longer order, or I'm unable to sell my shares just because I do not want to trade at the price that is available in the market, which is also okay. So what we are saying that you should be able to sell your shares after you buying them in 3 days. So anyone who will have had these shares will be able to sell their shares on the 31st of October. We say that we do not encourage you to invest today if you're looking at selling at 31st. Yeah, because you want to be part of the plan. We are not speculators. They are speculators, and investors as individuals, they are speculative in nature. So whereas we are speculative, we are also a young nation. Most of us here are young. Some of us are in our prime. We are either touching our third floor, or we are even in our 20s, or even in our early 40s. So there is still enough time for you to allow your investment to grow for yourself, for your children. Yeah. So for me, I would strongly advise that whereas it is liquid, you can sell your shares. If you bought some at the exchange on the 31st, after 3 working days, you're able to sell those shares. So in terms of liquidity, the system is such a way that you're able to trade your shares within 3 working days. Yeah. So if we are to go back to what post IPOs have looked like, I'll use the most recent IPOs that we have had. Yes, post IPO, because we have between 70 to 80% new investors coming in IPOs. We also have the nature of our investors on the securities exchange is that they are target investors. I'm going to use an example of some of us, and this is my personal experience. After my wedding, I had a couple of dollars that were left, but every time I wanted to exchange them, I was always looking for the highest price that was on the board. So when because I had few, it was not my trade. I wanted to make sure that I get the highest. So I was a target seller. So when I sold my dollars at a certain rate, I was very happy. I saw the price coming down later. I was much happier. But then 2 weeks later, the price went above what I had already sold at. I was sad. So I was like, I should have waited. But again, while I had that price, I was very happy. So the same thing happens in the stock market, that when we have first-time investors coming, which is also the case, it is not unique. So every IPO appeals to different people. There are people who identify with Airtel, and they never identified with other companies that are listed before. So they are investing because they identify with this company. If they have different expectations or short-term expectations, they'll come and then they want to sell on the first day. So what happens? We have supply exceeding demand. Naturally, you should not be selling your shares if you don't have financials. So the information that you have today is the information that you will have on the 31st. It's the information that you're basically going to have maybe say the first week of November. So if we have material information, which should be the dividend now, we know how much dividend they're going to pay. That is material information. So that you can react, the market would say that we have new information. But again, you realize that the only reason we shall have a change in the price, it's because perhaps someone has borrowed and they have told their lender that I'll pay you on the 31st because I'm selling my shares. So if all of us borrowed money, we will be under pressure to sell quickly. But again, some people have also genuine reasons. I mean, your child falls sick, you have your shares, you have 1 million shillings you invested, and you don't have anyone else to lend you money. Will you sit and watch your child die? Not necessarily. So you might rush and give us the instruction to sell. So what we have seen is that if we look at the profile of people who sell post-IPO, 90% of those are retail investors and 90%, about 80% of those are first-time investors. So what we have also seen that there are people who have invested in the previous offers. They sit and wait because there exists opportunities on the secondary market. What are those opportunities? That if I have so many sellers, I anticipate to get so many sellers, I will wait out. But remember, that is also an anticipation. It's not that it will come to pass. But should there be so many sellers, I can start commanding the lower prices. We have orders already for people who intend to buy on the secondary market, and they are lower than the IPO. But we also know there are people right now who cannot afford 250,000, but they have 100,000. So those ones cannot buy now. They will wait and buy at the secondary market. So often at times, that is the characteristic we have seen post-IPO. Today, for one of the companies that recently listed, if you want to get 1 million shares in one transaction, it's not possible because you have to accumulate the different offers that we have in the market for you to just raise 1 million. So for a person who intends to invest bigger amounts of money, it might even take a whole week just to fill 1 million shilling, 1 million quantity of shares. So post-IPO, the reality of the recent ones was that we have had the prices coming down. But again, we also need to look at what I indicated as the effective price. You might be here losing your heart because the price is at 95. But if you're the one who has got the maximum incentive, you break even at 83. So even when you have prices coming down, it's an opportunity for you, the entrepreneur who is listening, to actually buy cheaper stock. Because if I buy cheaper stock, eventually my entire portfolio, the value of or the cost of my entire portfolio will come lower. What does that mean? I have an opportunity to make a better profit, even if the price is slightly above where the market is at. So every time you buy cheaper shares at a lower price, your average cost price comes lower. Yeah. So I think that is also a culture that we have. Often at times, because we are retail individuals, we are emotional in terms of our investment. So if I see a lower price, this is not going to work. But let us focus on the company. Is it returning the value? Is it creating the value that they have promised? Then grow with them. If the price is lower, pick more. If you have a pressing need, you can always compare investments. Investment in equities have a higher return, but they also carry a higher risk in terms of the volatility. So for me, my encouragement, we do not want to be those investors who are rushing to sell at the bell ringing event, not necessarily. Let us be the investors who are also going to maximize the opportunity there is in the IPO because you have an incentive and you have a dividend. But also after the IPO, let us look at the opportunities that will present themselves in the secondary market and we can maximize those. Eventually, an investor who's able to maximize all the opportunities in both the primary and the secondary market is one who will enjoy their stay in the capital markets. So I hope I've answered the question thoroughly, Ronald.
Thank you so much for. I think that's a comprehensive response, and I think one of the questions actually in the chat box from Joseph has also been answered. William is asking, and I'll give Millie an opportunity to ask her question. We just have possibly time for one more round. William is saying, is there a way one can transfer ownership of shares without going through the secondary market? For example, can I transfer my shares to my son as part of my inheritance? There was a question here from Ren. Please clarify a bit more on the minimum number of shares, ordinary shares. I think Ivan has responded to that question. Joseph has also asked, if I pay, say, 250,000 for the IPO initially, and sometime later before the closing date of the IPO, I want to add and pay for more shares, is it possible? I think Ivan has responded to that question in the chat box, but possibly someone can touch on it. Millie, please go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukasa, and thank you for Airtel team. Quick question, can I walk into ABSA and this process is done for me at an ABSA branch? Over.
All right, I think, Philip, you'll address that question. Let me allow Christopher to also ask a question.
Thank you for this opportunity. My question is about the difference between the par value of 1 shilling and the offer price of 100 shillings. I wanted some clarity on that par value. What does it mean?
Great. I think, Ivan, you can go ahead and just address that question. The par value and then the share price, or the 1 and the 100. What does it actually mean? Christopher, oh, sorry. I think that those were the only hands we had. Let me see if we have one in the chat box. Jennifer asks, I beg a clarity on the advantage of buying today and after 13th of October. I think the advantage of buying in the primary market versus the versus the secondary market. I think you have touched on it, but possibly Catherine can touch on that again. William comes back and asks, if one wanted to invest for his offsprings who don't have NIN numbers or have no SCDs, what's the process of doing that? Good question. I think we'll touch on that. We'll also touch on that. Phil, please go first, and then possibly Ivan can come, and then Catherine.
Yeah, thanks, Ronald. So you can walk into any ABSA branch and make a payment or make an application for the shares. We have dedicated tills in the branches that will be able to help you with the application process. So it's available across all ABSA branches. Ronald, I don't know if that answers the question or if I need to shed a bit more light.
Yes, I think that's okay. I don't know, can they also use agents?
So at this point, Ronald, no, it's not yet enabled on the agents. So what we've enabled away from the branch is the mobile money option. So the *185*85 hash, but also the mobile banking app. So away from the branch, it's the mobile money option, and then the mobile banking app, and then for corporate clients as well, the corporate banking system.
Super, thanks a lot. I don't know who comes next. Ivan, do you want to make some comments, the questions?
Yes,
Ivan,
Ronald. Yes, Ronald, on the par value and the 1 shilling and the 100 shilling, the difference. So basically, there are two different things. Par value is a single common share set by the company's charter, or basically it's an indication of the minimum value a share in that company can be transacted at. So it's not an indicator of the actual value, of the actual market value of that share. It's the minimum in terms of when you're setting. So if a company, for instance, you set up a company with 1,000 shares, the par value, you can set it as the legally transferable amount. So there are two different things. One is an indicator of the unit of the shares. So there are 8 billion shares with a par value of 1, which is 8 billion. So it means legally you can only the company can't go below that, basically. Now the market value then speaks to the value the market attaches basis a number of valuation techniques, the income and all those other things. So that's essentially the difference of the two. I hope it has clarified.
Yes, you've clarified.
Yes, please.
Great, thank you. Catherine, please go ahead.
Yeah, so for the transfer, there's what we call a private transfer. It's possible. You can transfer to your children. You can also transfer to your spouse. So if it's going to be given as a gift, the Uganda Securities Exchange chief executive is the one who authorizes all private transfers. So it is possible that you can get your shares and give them to your close relations. So it's either child or a spouse. So for those who want to buy for children, it's possible. Children don't have NINs, but now they have birth certificates. So if you have a child and they have a birth certificate, please get in touch with us. We shall give you the forms, you fill them, you attach a birth certificate, the picture of the parent who is holding the account in trust, and then the picture of the child. Those are the two things, and then you'll be able to apply for the child. So if we are to go to the opportunities that present themselves in the primary and secondary, primary, I'll give an example. You're not going to pay any fees. You are paying, if it's the share price is 100 and you're buying 10,000, you're paying 1 million shillings. Let's cross to the secondary market. You'll have to pay in excess of 2.1%. So on top of the 1 million shillings, you have to increase that by 2.1%. That's assuming that the entire 1 million shillings what is available for the purchase. So that is one thing. Assuming that the price at the secondary market is higher, you're also going to increase your cost now for every single share. Then there is no incentive. If you're buying 100 shares on the secondary market, there is no extra incentive that you're getting. So today, for every 100 you're buying, you're getting either 6 incentive shares or you're getting 5 incentive shares. The other opportunities that lies in the primary market that is not in the secondary market is that you have limitless supply because you're buying directly from the issuer, who is Airtel. In the secondary market, you will be subject to the supply that is in the market when it's available and the price at which it is available. So that perhaps the opportunity, and this is a gamble because we expect that because the other IPOs have behaved, different companies behave differently, even after listing. So if the price is lower than what we have, then perhaps you can be able to pick cheaper shares than the price that we currently have. But again, if you're picking at 100, it is not even cheaper than 100 that we have now. Why? Because there is a commission that you're paying in excess. So we are also looking at the time value of money. There are people I know, there are people who have said that I should have bought my shares now that the price is lower. But let us look at comparative investments that we did or things where we invested the money. Today you have money, but tomorrow, okay, God forbid that there is a barrier, you're likely going to use that money. So it will not even be an investment. Very few of us sell shares to go and send someone off. So even as you're looking at this investment, I have money now, but if I put it in shares, it is money that is not available for any other use that may not be of much value to me as an individual. Yeah. We even have wedding contributions. Some of us are going to pledge 500,000 because you have 500,000 in your account. But if you have bought shares worth 400K and you have 100K, when you go to the meeting, you say, this is how much I have. So we have also realized that it is not true that a person would have used that money, even if the share price tomorrow is 50 shillings. That 50 is better than 0, because we have seen that especially in the lower tier, that for that 1 million shilling that you had last year, you don't have it now, and you did not invest it because there are not so many alternative investments. So we are saying that today you have an investment opportunity before you. You don't even have to look so hard. And it's an experience for people. You can never say that I got the best price on the market. No, even us now who are entrepreneurs, we know that there are times when we are in the better season, there are times when we are not in the better season. So, but there are very different opportunities. When the prices are lower, what are you learning as an investor? Sometimes it's your tenacity that is being tested. Sometimes it's for you now to say, what else is there that I can invest in? But equities, whether they are lower at the price you bought at, there is a certain portion of your value that is still kept in that offer. So today you have an opportunity. We are expecting that there will be many sellers after. Well, let us look at also this other thing that we call liquidity. If we have funds taking up the offer and fewer retail investors, it means that even post-listing, we shall not have so much liquidity because funds are not in the business of buying and selling every single day. Yeah. So even those who may want to buy, as we anticipate to buy after listing on the 31st, what if there are not as many shares? Perhaps you're buying 2 small shares, then the funds are able to liquidate. So that is also something else we need to know. Yes, there is opportunity. The opportunity that we want to grasp after listing is that the company will continue to be available. We'll continue to get shares as and when they are made available at the prices, because there is a varying price. You can ask any price you want, as long as it's within the 15% range, come the 13th. Today, you can either pay 100 or you pay 100. So I hope I have answered that question as well.
Thanks a lot, Catherine. I think that addresses the majority, the bulk of the questions which were asked, and Ivan has been kind to also respond to those in the chat box. I think we just have about 5 minutes to go, and I'll just give an opportunity to our panel to just share with us their final remarks. I'll start with Flavia, and then Ivan, and then Catherine, and then Philip will wrap up. Flavia, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ronald. Dear entrepreneurs, we are very, very thankful that you've given us this opportunity to present to you. I want to believe that we have convinced you of this opportunity. It's always good to divest. I'm sure you have a number of investments, and this will be one of those other good ones that you can make. Probably, hopefully too, that some of you already have equities, invested in equities. Airtel is also here to invest, to give you an opportunity to invest, to become a shareholder with Airtel. Personally, I have invested in a few equities, and I'm always happy about the fact that I don't invest like Catherine, I think, was talking about the speculators. I've never speculated with equities because I believe with equities, you have to be ready to go in for the long haul if you really want to benefit. So I'm really appealing to all of you, please consider it and invest, for yourself, but also invest for your children and grandchildren. So you put your investment, your money, your funds in there, allow it to grow. As the business is growing, so will your equity. And then you will enjoy it, your children will enjoy it, as well as your grandchildren. So I smile to the bank now and then, because this is money you've placed. It's like you've saved money, and before you know it, there's a click on your SMS alert, and you've got money on your bank account. And when you check in, it's a dividend from your equity. So I really, really encourage you as Ugandans, let's embrace this way of investment. Thank you, Ronald, for the opportunity. And Enterprise Uganda.
Super. Thanks a lot. Great. I'll hand it over to Ivan.
Yeah, thanks, Ronald. The other panelists and the members who dialed in to listen to us, like the other members have said, it's only a couple of weeks left to take part of this opportunity. We've labored to highlight why you should take part, and I think key to note really, besides the numbers we are talking about, which are historical, is to look at where Uganda is currently in terms of the demographics. Basically, Uganda has the lowest smartphone penetration levels in the even if you compare to East Africa. East Africa is at 40% and Uganda is at 21%. And that speaks to the kind of population we have, which is very young. So if you look at SIM penetration levels, Uganda is currently at 44%. Africa is at around 54%. And now this is a company which has been here for 25 years, and these are the levels at which it is, and that's the profitability the history gives you. So it paints the picture of what the opportunity is. And if you want to bank on this sector, given the numbers I've just stated, given the current penetration levels of 21%, Southern Africa is almost 128%, Nigeria is almost 50%, the rest of East Africa is at 40%. There's an immense opportunity, and it will be sad if people don't take advantage of this. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ivan, for sharing with us. Kathy, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ronald. Thank you, Ivan and Flavia and Philip. And to our audience this morning, we don't take your time for granted. For me, three things. We have until 3:30 next week to be able to take this offer. We read the prospectus. It is available. You can come for a copy. I think there are a few, not more than 10, at our offices at Impala House, Kimathi Avenue. That's where Crested Capital is located. We are alive on our socials. We are alive on our info@crestedcapital.com. On Airtel website, you can go and get the prospectus. Please read the prospectus. Be an informed investor. Yeah, we want to see a different category of investors this time around. I believe in the journey of Airtel, where we have questions, let us ask. And most importantly, look at this as a long-term investment. Whatever you do, we are a young generation, we can do better. We can pass and create wealth for our children, but not just to pass it down to them, let us teach them. So if you have young kids, open for them shares account, buy for them shares, and let them start their journey. So enjoy the rest of the week, and may God bless you all.
Great. Thanks a lot, Catherine. And then Phil, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ronald, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to Enterprise Uganda and your members. From an ABSA perspective, it's to reiterate our commitment in helping you have a smooth, process as you apply for the shares. As I've highlighted, you can walk into any of our branches to make an application for the shares. You can also do it through the mobile banking app. You can do it through the corporate banking app, and you can also do it through the MIPO. From an opportunity perspective, we also believe that this is a good opportunity, and that is driven by the 95% dividend payout, the trajectory of the company, given the last 5 years, and also the opportunity in the market, from a data growth, but also the demographics in terms of the number of people that make 18 every year. So it's an opportunity that we should not let slip through our fingers, and let's make hay while the sun shines. Thank you, and back to you, Ronald.
Great. Thanks a lot, Philip. And as the panel has shared, it's a big opportunity. We have about a week to close this decision. So I think the timing was just perfect for those of you who have been wondering what the Airtel Uganda IPO is all about. I think the team here has shared with us and has kind of really equipped us with the necessary tools to make the right decision. A big thank you to Flavia, to Ivan, Catherine, and Phil. Thank you so much for really taking off time to share with us. And a big thank you to all who have joined the call, our usual, the people who attend the Business Recovery Series. We'll be back next week. Next week, we will have Mr. Chichi sharing with us. Please do plug in, and we will be kind of discussing a bit on the loans and how to manage that better. A big thank you and all the best as we move. Our programs continue. Those of you who want to do the ETW, a link is going to be shared in the chat box. Please do sign up so that we can be able to move. Friends, the opportunity is in front of us, and as Phil put it, take it when it lasts. So that, Catherine shared how many big advantages exist because of this. So really, we are very grateful and are looking forward to those of us who can to be able to participate. Thank you so much from Enterprise Uganda, and we shall be able to see you next week. Phil, give Vincent a big thank you for helping us to mobilize the panel. We are very grateful to him, Mr. Tim, for helping us put this together, and the entire ABSA team, which helped us all the way from Albert, and the rest who helped us to put this together. So we say a big thank you to them on our behalf. All the best and have a blessed week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.